Rambam. We continue in the book of Holiness. As we've said, holiness refers to two basic things that in a day-to-day living, laws of the prohibitions of in relationships, comes to sexuality, and now which we finished with. Now we're learning about the things that are prohibited to eat. Right, the two basic things that people are drawn to with desire, with lust, and what's the word? And for food, what would be the right word for food? No, not lust. Yeah, that's extreme already. Just pleasure. Yeah, both are pleasure, right? Two different kinds of pleasure that we're drawn towards. And these are the laws of those parameters. Ultimately, it's about bringing holiness into both of those parameters. So we're learning it not from a mystical point of view. Of course, when we learn Rambam, we're learning from a halachic and others, the parameters of what's what. What is considered something that is prohibited, that you're not allowed to have the pleasure thereof. Well, let's continue. Chapter 14, the minimum measure. Talking about time and space. Look at that. We're talking about time and space in Tanya, having that conversation here. And everything is limited by time and space, the mitzvahs that we do. So when it comes to Passover and you have to eat matzah as a mitzvah, you have to do it in time. In other words, you can't eat matzah today to fulfill that mitzvah. You have to eat it on the 15th, the night of the 15th of Nisan. And you will have to have that's time, and it has to be done in space. Actually, in time, furthermore, it needs to be eaten within 6 minutes, and it needs the space of half a shmur matzah, or maybe a little less than that, pending a little less than that of a shmur matzah that you have to eat. So all mitzvahs are defined and have the parameters of time and space. That is part of creation. And through that, what do? We are bringing holiness into time and space through the laws of sexuality, and here through the laws of food. So the minimum measure, which one is libel? Libel means that you can get a punishment. There's a consequence of partaking of any food, forbidden foods in the Torah, the size of an average olive, which is about 3 ounces, right? Or like a slice of bread.
Fries with olive slices of bread.
17 grams approximately. Okay. So approximately a slice of bread. Okay. This applies whether for lashes, kares, or death at the hand of heaven. By the different consequences, some things you would get lashes for, as we learned, like about, eating blood, right? Take kare, for fats, I think certain fats that you're not allowed to have was kares, premature death, and death at the hand of heaven. They're similar ideas. We already explained that anyone who's liable for kares or death at the hand of heavens or partaking of forbidden food should receive lashes. Okay. This measure, number 2, as all of the other measurements, is halacha conveyed by Moshe from Sinai. In other words, if you're going to look at, excuse me, I got to stretch my legs for a second. If you're going to look into the 5 books of Moses, you know why you have a big nose? Because you keep your books, your nose in the 5 books of Moses. Huh? All Jews have big noses, even though I don't, but
The horrible joke about that is not a stereotype.
huh?
It's not a stereotypical thing to say.
Huh?
It's not a stereotypical thing to say.
Yeah, so something wrong with that?
Stereotype is a trope.
Huh?
Is a trope.
And that's just a word.
That's fun.
I'm Jewish and I could say it. I'm not saying it to be anti-Semitic, right? Am I doing it to be anti-Semitic? No. Am I doing it to make Jews look bad? No.
Keep it good.
I said you have a big nose in order to keep your, because we keep our it's from a song from Moshe. Yes, Jews have big noses. They keep. Forget how the line goes because we keep it in the 5 books of Moses. Noses, Moses. Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's a song.
yeah. Maybe I can keep the jokes to myself.
Please don't. This big kid.
Yes.
And it always.
Your anti-Semitic remark was made online.
But I don't know that right itself.
All right. So, as all other measurements, so halacha measurements. In other words, if you look in the 5 books of Moses, right, because we've got big. No. Just keep it in the 5 books of Moses, then you're okay. If you look in the Torah, right, we're learning Chumash and Rashi, right? Did you ever find anywhere in Chumash and Rashi that we've learned that Rashi makes a note of what the amount was that you did a prohibition? Like when it came, well, in Parsha Shmini, we spoke about kosher there, right? Parsha Achrei Mos was about illicit relations. Was there anywhere any kind of measurement in time and space for those prohibitions? No. Why? Because it's not in the Torah. It was given at Moses at Sinai. It's oral. Okay? It is forbidden by scriptural law, yet that's called scriptural law, even though it's not in the book. So as big as your nose will be, you're not going to find that in the 5 books of Moses. Sorry, I'm going to beat it to death. I see no one's laughing with me, laughing at me. Okay. Okay. It's forbidden by scriptural law to even the slightest amount of forbidden substance. Nevertheless, one receives lashes only for a olive-sized portion. If one partakes of any amount less than that measure, he is given stripes or rebellious conduct. So, okay, look what we have over here. So to have consequence, to have a halachic consequence, right? That meaning that there's some kind of punishment like lashes, you have to eat an olive size, right? You need that 3 ounces, that slice of bread or whatever, right? However, it's forbidden even a taste of whatever is forbidden, right? Doesn't matter what size, just there won't be a consequence, except that you cross God's law, right? There won't be a consequence biblically, but the rabbis came and said that even if you ate just a morsel of something that wasn't kosher, and this would be in times of when the Jewish people have control based on Torah and mitzvah, based on the high court, the Sanhedrin is what rules the people, which is not now. Then if you even ate a small amount, you would get stripes for rebellious conduct, which is rabbinic. The measure of the size of an olive that we mentioned does not include what is between one's teeth. What is between one's gums, however, is included when one swallows, for his palate benefited from an olive-sized portion of food. Others, between your teeth means it got stuck in your teeth, right? So in other words, does that add up to the being very, like it's just bringing out a principle over here. It's only the pleasure that you had from the food. It wasn't that you had it in your mouth. Where do you have the pleasure when you swallow it? By swallowing, you have the pleasure, right? Right. Just like a bracha, you have to eat and swallow, and then you could talk because otherwise, you didn't fulfill that properly, right? Because when you make a bracha, it's for partaking and having pleasure from God's world. So you have to make a blessing, you make a bracha. And the pleasure is when you have what's called hanas grainai, which is that the palate benefited it. So if it's stuck in your teeth, right? And it didn't. Now, who's measuring this is obviously not the point, but the point that we're learning over here is what is considered benefit is that your palate appreciated and enjoyed it. And what did you enjoy here? Something that's forbidden. So it has to be an olive size in order that you're going to get the biblical lashes because you had the benefit of the pleasure of the palate. So even if one ate half of an olive-sized portion, vomited it, and then it ate the same portion that was half the size of an olive, and then vomited, he's liable. Why? Because he had the pleasure on his palate, right? Even though he vomited, in other words, it didn't go down his throat, but it went on, it was in his palate. His palate enjoyed it. For the liability for one's benefit is one's palate receives from forbidden substance. Right? That's where the liability, not because you swallowed it. Okay. In other words, it's interesting. You think like he vomited, like, hey, that forbidden substance did not become incorporated and become a part of me. It didn't become my flesh and blood. I vomited it. Yet you have you've transgressed a prohibition that you get lashes for biblically, because the fact that something is forbidden and you have pleasure from it, that's the parameter of the prohibition, not that you actually swallowed it and became a part of you. It's fascinating. Think about it. In other words, sin is the basis of it in this instance, right, is the pleasure that you had in the sin. That itself makes you liable. Even though you vomited the food, but you had pleasure, right? Because your palate had pleasure before you vomited it, right? Amazing. Number 4, when an olive-sized portion of forbidden fat, an avela, pigel, noisar, these are all things of sacrifices, right? Oh, not well, forbidden fat is forbidden. Nevela, sorry. Pigel means when you had the wrong thought of the time to eat the sacrifice. Noisar was the leftover of the sacrifice, right? You ate it as leftovers when you had to eat it within a certain time period. Or the like was left in the sun and it was reduced in volume. One who eats it is not liable. So it was an olive size. You left it in the sun, it shrunk. It's not an olive size anymore. Guess what? It's only the pleasure that you had in the moment that you ate it, not what it was. And therefore it shrunk. You're not liable. Again, you're not allowed to do it. Again, what are we learning here? We're learning about the parameter of what's called, the sin. And well, that has consequence to it. Exactly. Not punishment, consequence. If afterwards one left it in the rain and it expanded, one is liable for either cars or lashes. If originally it was smaller than olive size and it expanded in the size of an olive, so forbidden to partake of it, but one is not liable for the lashes for it. Why not? Because its natural size was not an olive size. It expanded because it rained. So now it expanded, right? Exactly. So therefore you're not. So here we're taking into the account now the item that you ate that was a prohibition, that was not kosher, right? So it has to be olive size. Now it wasn't originally, but it expanded due to something that's not of the food. So it's not therefore considered olive size, right? Again, you're not allowed to do these things. It's just bringing out very clearly parameters, very fascinating of, what is called something, right? Not when something that's extraneous to it is added to it. Then it's not part of that something, right? It's a different thing. And therefore, it's a different name of God that is, well, which we'll see, the letters that are giving it vitality, right? It'll be a different, no, it'll be a different quality of the divine integration of the light of God that is now animating it, because it's two different, just to put in the Tanya over here that we learned today, which ties in over here. If imagine, okay, this is a bagel, right? Right, we have a bagel here, but this is a bagel, right? Less than an olive size, right? Pretend, okay? There's a lot of pretending here. I left it outside, and because of the rain, it got saturated. The water that's in it is not being animated by the word, by God's bagel word, whatever that word is, right? It's being animated by God's water word. So it's two different animations in that taking up the same space. That's okay. God's capable of, doing that, right? Two different words that are animating it. Therefore, you can't call it one thing that you're now transgressing, because it's two different things that are being animated here. No, well, that's the God's water word that is in the bagel is a different word. So it's a different quality of a creation. It's a different thing. And therefore, it only made it into an olive size, but well, it's a different thing. So therefore, it cannot be part of it. In other words, the prohibition that it didn't make this bagel into an olive size, because it's not bagel. It's bagel plus water. Amazing. But look what today's Tanya fills in the gaps over here to give us a deeper understanding. It's being animated by bagel, by God's bagel word, whatever that is. Right. Right. Yeah. We already explained that all of the forbidden substances in the Torah are not combined with each other to reach the minimum size of the olive, with the exception of meat of an avela and meat of a treifa. Yeah, we learned that, right? In other words, if it's a forbidden piece of pig, right, together with a forbidden piece of milk and meat. So I have half olive size milk and meat, half pig, right? Put the two together, they don't combine. They can't combine to make olive size. Two different things, two different animations, right? Except for meat of an animal, two different animals. One was a nevela. What's a nevela? Who remembers? Come on. Nevela and treif. No. Treif is could be a broken bone or something that will not last a year. Nevela meat died without shechting, without proper slaughter. Either the animal killed it or you slaughtered it and didn't slaughter it properly. So therefore it's called an nevela, right? Because it wasn't killed according to shchita law. Right. Right. No, shchita, well, yeah, I mean, al pi halacha. In other words, an animal killed it. So can you eat that killed animal? No, because it wasn't slaughtered. You slaughtered it, but not properly. That's called an avela. Treifa means that it's unhealthy, that it will not last a year. Right? Meaning you slaughtered it properly, but you found that the lungs were diseased. Well, glat is just a higher level in kosher. There's kosher and glat kosher. Right? Glat just means even healthier. You're more strict in the health. There's a minimum level, and then glat is, the more, okay. Okay. So nevela and treif can come together because in the end it's both animal meat. right? It's only, the health or the way that died, as opposed to being two different things, pig and milk and meat. 5 types of grain, the flour, the dough, made from them, all can be combined with each other to reach a minimum size of an olive with regard to prohibition against leaven on Pesach. Prohibition against taking Chadash for offering the Omer, and the prohibitions involving the second tithe and Trimois. So here, all 5 types of grain, even though wheat, barley, rye, oats, and spelt, since they're all grained, and so it's got the same, by the way, there's a little breakdown of what I just said over here, because here there's different grains, so therefore there's different name of different animating force, right? But there's and that maybe therefore you have to come on to the encompassing and the specific. So here there's an encompassing of grains. It's called the grain, and maybe based on that, because there's different. In other words, God animates grain equally, all grain on one level, and specifically on another level. Well, we see that the fact that grain is one word, and then you have the letters of the words, that there's a specification. So you see that in everything has the overall. You read, when you put letters together, each letter is its own animating force. But then you have them that they're all together as one word, which is greater than the sum total, which is the idea of encompassing. There's the encompassing aspect of it, and there's the specific aspect. Each letter specific in its shape and its number value and its order, right? And so on. Bottom line, let's go further. Okay, actually, I have to stop here. I'm sorry. I didn't realize the time. It's 10:30.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Sorry, folks.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rabbi. Y'all have a
Bye-bye.
good day.
You too.
Everybody.